a really strong weekend for Max Verstappen. My question walking into Saudi Arabia was, can Red Bull recover? And Max certainly did. He reminded everyone in the field that weekends like Bahrain will be more irregular than regular occurrences. Max Verstappen was on fire. Qualifying was phenomenal. They even did a really interesting pit stop strategy within qualifying that helped him get every last bit out of the car on low fuel to overtake Piastri, however, not converting the win. Max Verstappen, though, keeping himself in this championship. The team are doing their utmost to keep him in this championship. And if this weekend told us anything, it's that getting your car, once again, in the right window can make all the difference between the top step and then fighting for fourth place. So,
yeah, you know what? Actually, since you bring that up, during the race final, where everybody placed on the race. Sorry, I don't know why that took me so long to get to.
You're good.
There was a 10-second gap from first to fourth place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, that kind of tells how close everybody was as far as because Lando, he finished 9 seconds or so, just a little over 9 seconds from Oscar. So it was really tight. I guess that's all I was trying to say.
Yeah. But the final placings on the grid were 8 seconds apart between the entire podium, if I'm not mistaken. Charles wasn't as far back as it might have seemed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot closer. I mean, the car performance window this season is going to continue to be, I think, a huge week in, week out, how we're going to talk about every one of these teams. But it's also going to dictate wins. If you can start off in clean air at the beginning of each one of these races, you're going to have the best opportunity to win. McLaren obviously had the fastest car, generally speaking. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. But what Red Bull were able to do, putting it just right, put Max in a really good position to win until Max kind of lost it himself. Because I don't know how you felt about that penalty, but I thought that was a pretty straightforward penalty. That is something that we had seen. We had seen from Max Verstappen historically do something similar and complain the complete opposite way, the same way Oscar did.
And you're never going to hear a driver just straight up be like,
oh, I was wrong. That was all
That's on me, man. My bad. Yeah, I'll go ahead. Give me that 10 seconds. I'll go ahead and do my time. It's all good. You're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear that. You shouldn't expect to hear that from Oscar. You shouldn't expect to hear that from Max. And obviously you're not going to hear an engineer sit there and argue with their driver in the middle of a race. I'm not here to dispute. I'm not here to dispute whether if it was or wasn't. I think.
Oh, I am. I
think the 5 seconds. I personally think the 5 seconds is deserved.
I do.
I was a little surprised that it wasn't 10 seconds, just with the back, what they've done in the past. But I guess 5 seconds is fine. It definitely does enough to mess up the race.
It definitely changed the outcome of the race, but it was a proper penalty in my opinion. Right. It was just enough that you were going to see the positions swap during pitting, which is exactly what happened. And it gave Max an opportunity to either extend the lead out ahead by more than 5 seconds to try to make some sort of offset,
which he wasn't able to do
because the McLaren is still pretty dang quick. But what it also gave him the opportunity to do was chase. He was within 3 seconds of Oscar Piastri by the end of the race. There was an opportunity there, depending on how things go. Let's say there's a racing incident at some point. You just never know.
Well, that's what Lando was hoping for. Lando and Charles were hoping for a racing incident so that way they didn't have to pit off those hards.
But overall, I think the penalty was correct. Max was not ahead going into the apex of that turn, and Oscar was able to keep his car on track. Max took the exit route and then came out ahead, overtook off track, and gained an advantage.
Well, I think it's
because we saw literally just a couple spots back, Kimi Antonelli have to do the exact same thing and then relinquish this place back to Lewis Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken, in the Ferrari, and then overtook him again later.
Which Max, of course, he's not going to give the place back. He's going to try to build it up just in case there is that penalty. But I think Oscar made a really good argument saying that, look, even if I wasn't there, he was not going to. He was going too fast. He broke too late. So even if I wasn't there, he still was going to go straight through, and he was going too fast
to stay on track.
Yeah, he's going off track either way, whether if I was there or not.
Yeah. So, I mean, Oscar had a great jump. I mean, that entire incident doesn't happen if Oscar doesn't have amazing reaction time, it's really hard to beat Max in a reaction.
We talked about it over the phone. was how quick and how good Oscar is and how he kind of rivals Max and getting off the line. But Max is one of the best, and that's one of the things he does more. One of the things he does better than most is getting off the line quicker than
it's a really underrated skill, how quickly and how effectively he can react within that car. But unfortunately, there was a racing incident with his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, and Yuki Tsunoda's bestie Pierre Gasly on lap 1 led to a DNF. Thoughts on this? Really, I don't think it was anybody's fault. It just seemed like a racing incident to me, a racing incident.
Well, that's what FIA determined as well.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, they were both meeting the same corner at the same time, just kind of out of position.
Well,
it happens.
Even Yuki and Pierre, obviously former teammates, they even both were kind of like,
it wasn't even a beef issue to me. It was just like, it happened.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a race incident.
It's a racing incident. And as far as like upgrades and everything else, I had written down too. Red Bull is trying to keep this like competitive. They're doing their best job. And I just made some notes at some point. Like Red Bull brought rear suspension, engine cover upgrades in Japan. This team is doing everything they can to enhance the car this year, keep Max in the World Drivers' Championship fight. So if I'm McLaren and if I'm your boys Oscar and Lando, I mean, Max isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon this year. He's going to be there fighting and keeping things very, very, very interesting. So as far as recovery is concerned, I mean, Max is always going to be in that mix. It's just a matter of really how competitive can Yuki start to finally, acclimate to this car, keep them in a constructor's fight. Where are they going to finish?